Sorry.
Please don't cough again.
You know what? I quit.
Oh, that was fast. Tune in next week for just me.
SpongeBob, the musical.
I'm going to begin by saying I never really watched SpongeBob as a kid.
I didn't either, actually.
Okay. I was wondering if you had.
No.
So,
I had no childhood.
I had a childhood, it just wasn't SpongeBob.
Oh.
It was more like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street and
That's a
the good
childhood.
shows.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so I've seen a few episodes. I always thought they were stupid, even as a child. So that's kind of my background going into this show.
All right. I haven't seen any, like, I've maybe seen one episode.
Okay.
I know, like, I've seen enough snippets of episodes, but I don't think I've seen more than one or two full episodes ever.
So I understand that, like, lots of people really enjoy the show. I don't really see the appeal because I don't understand the humor that's in it. I think it's dumb, but it's a popular show. So,
and apparently it's a popular musical, too.
It is. It's currently tied with Mean Girls for most nominations this year. They both have 12.
Is that the record? Or have
It is not the record, okay. No. The record is
it's
16.
Okay.
Yes. But it is up there.
Yeah.
Last year, Dear Evan Hansen, the winner of Best Musical, was only nominated for 9. And that was an amazing show. So both of these have beat that already. So we'll see what happens.
Apparently it wasn't that amazing.
It was, though.
Oh, okay.
Better than SpongeBob, at least.
All right, so what was your opinion of SpongeBob?
At first, I thought it was really annoying and pointless, and I didn't like it at all. But as I continued to listen to it, because I've been listening to it all week, then I started to appreciate it more. And so now I still think it's stupid, but
it's okay.
It's endearing, I think.
Endearing.
So one of the things I thought about was, because this is an interesting fact, each song is written by a different band.
I was actually looking at that, yeah.
Individual, and so like Sarah Bareilles, Panic at the Disco, Plain White Tees, everybody like contributed to this show. And each of them wrote one song. And so I was thinking how much fun it would have been to write a song for like a dumb musical just for fun. Because even though I don't love the source material, I think that would have been really fun to just write a fun song just for fun. It would have been fun.
Was it fun?
I hope it was.
So I had like how positive of an opinion am I allowed to have of this musical without getting fired?
I'm not going to judge you because my opinion has changed, and so.
So I absolutely love it.
Okay. I absolutely love parts of it. So.
I don't absolutely love every single second of it, but my overall, I love it.
Okay, now tell me why, please.
So, I think it did a really good job of being both silly. Like, it was silly, but it wasn't, like, over-the-top silly.
Right.
Parts of it were.
Right.
But it wasn't, the whole thing wasn't...
Right.
Like...
Slapstick
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And... But it was silly, and it was also just serious enough that it could be taken seriously.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah. One thing... about that. So it was very silly, but there were some like real emotional parts, like where SpongeBob and Patrick, they miss each other and they're singing about that.
I like that song a lot.
I loved that song. But the only thing with it is that the songs that were emotional, they weren't very deep emotions. Like two people that miss each other singing about that isn't really a new concept. That was one of the things that I felt. None of the emotions were very deep, but they did do them well where they did.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably my view of it as well. So, spoiler alert, the whole plot is that there's a volcano that's about to erupt and destroy everything. And the goal is they are building a
Eruptor interrupter.
interrupter to try to stop the volcano. I don't like the song Best Day Ever that much.
Right.
It's an okay song, but the end of it, I don't remember off the top of my head, but the last little bit of the song, it just like something, I don't know, I just like connected with it. I was like sympathizing. I'm like, man, you're waiting, you've got like 5 seconds until the volcano's supposed to erupt, and you have no idea if your thing's going to work or not. So you might die in 5 seconds, but you also might not. And I thought, I don't know how they did it, but I think whoever wrote that song did a good job of doing that.
Right.
At least for me.
And the thing I like about that, because the line is, the first line in it is, just 6 more minutes left. We've done all we could do, and whatever happens next, I'm glad I'm here with you. And that is at the end of Act 1, the song Tomorrow Is.
I love that song, by the way.
That one I do enjoy. There's another line that says, we only have tomorrow, I wish it was with you, because Patrick and SpongeBob are separated at that point, but then they're back together, and at the end, then they're glad that they get to spend this last day together.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a sweet little connection.
I didn't even notice that, yeah.
I didn't notice that until right now.
Nice.
So, one thing I want to bring up is that, so even though each of these were written by a different band or individual, Tom Kitt was the orchestrator and arranged all of them to make it a cohesive musical. And each of them, it sounds like it's one musical, even though they were all written in completely different styles. And I think he is a genius for doing that and putting it all together.
I honestly, I didn't know that they were all written by different bands until after, like, I'd listened through it twice, and I was really surprised. I didn't even notice it. It just sounded like one guy wrote all the songs.
Yeah. And the only two that weren't written directly for the musical were No Control, which is a David Bowie song, and that's one of my favorites in the show.
David, as in, like, the song existed?
Like, it existed before the show. It's just a song that he...
Well, I'm assuming, like, the lyrics were different.
Well, I mean, the lyrics, they added lyrics, but it's all deranged, no control, that's all, it's a David Bowie song, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. What was your favorite song?
Oh, so there's a few. So fun songs.
Right.
My favorite 2 fun songs are Daddy Knows Best and Super Sea Star Savior.
I love both of those. The ensemble in this show is amazing.
Absolutely.
Because they play so many, like, in every different style, and they just sound amazing every single time. And whenever they come in, it's just so fun.
Yeah.
Daddy Knows Best. I love that one, like with the money, 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 money. And then the moment when she's saying, like, Daddy, can you hear me? That whole moment is one of the best moments in the show.
Yeah.
Because you can just feel, like, the tension, and it's so fun.
And that's another moment where you feel like it's serious.
Yeah,
enough.
That's one of my favorite emotional moments in the show.
And it's so beautifully done because it's super silly, but it's just so but it's serious enough that you're like, you actually are, you're sympathizing with Pearl. And Pearl is amazing.
Yeah,
easily favorite character.
Definitely.
It's a shame Pearl doesn't have a bigger part.
Right. I wonder if she does more. I think she does within the reading the synopsis. Yeah. She does more outside of the songs too.
Gotcha.
Like campaigning to get the electric skates to come and stuff like that. My favorite song is When the Going Gets Tough.
Okay.
Because it's just so goofy when Karen starts beatboxing.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Cracked up, and then with the little fish echo, like the "oh echo." I thought that was hilarious because it's a rapper that wrote it, and so that's that sort of echo is something that would happen in a rap song, but doing it with like the falsetto fish, I thought it was amazing.
It's well done.
Yeah. So my least favorite song is "Chop to the Top."
Same.
For two reasons. I don't like the style. I don't love Lady Antebellum, who wrote it. And it just, I didn't love it. But also because they're climbing a mountain underwater. And I know from experience that it's a lot easier to move up when you're underwater than it is to move down. And so it was hard to willingly suspend my disbelief for that song because climbing a mountain underwater shouldn't be difficult. And also, how does a jetpack work underwater?
Okay, so this...
I know that's just
they made
it
a
is
fire
SpongeBob
in one of the episodes,
and that's also So when I realized they're climbing a mountain underwater, that was hard for me to take in.
I mean, I agree with you that I don't like the song at all, but I don't know if that's necessarily a very good reason to not like the song.
Yeah.
I just don't like it just because it's like, I feel like it doesn't do anything for the
Right.
show. Not necessarily to say that there shouldn't be a song at that point, just that one doesn't really do much. It's like, come on, we can do it. And then that's like the whole song.
Yeah. I have a question, and if anyone knows the answer to it, please let us know. The prologue, it's this French narrator guy, and I love him, but then he disappears and doesn't come back for the rest of the show.
So the synopsis says absolutely nothing about this French narrator guy.
Right. But
on
one
Wikipedia.
thing, in the character list, it says, so in the original Chicago cast, there was a guy that played the French narrator. But in the Broadway cast, then it's a pre-recorded recording. And so it might just be a French voice at the beginning of the show. Which doesn't make a lot of sense, but I enjoy it.
I liked it also. I also, speaking of the beginning, going back to the first time I listened to this musical, which was, not that long ago. It was like a week ago. Maybe even less. So I listened to the French guy, and then Bikini Bottom Day started. And just from the minute... Okay, actually, when SpongeBob started singing... I thought it was a little jarring just because I was like, oh, SpongeBob is singing. This is weird. But after that, I loved the song.
Right.
It's such a well-done song.
That song, so it's by Jonathan Colton. Have you heard of him?
I haven't.
I love Jonathan Colton. He is hilarious. You should listen to his other work because he's talented. But his other songs are just absolutely hilarious and just like goofy and geeky. And you could definitely see that in this song, how just his fun style in this show. One thing I didn't like, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, I just thought it was annoying, personally. In Bikini Bottom Day, then SpongeBob and Patrick, their voices are very distinct, and then it's their character voices.
Right.
And then in BFF, it's a little bit less, they sound a little better, but then... when it gets to I Guess I Miss You, they sound good. And that bothered me because they're not supposed to. Okay. But I couldn't even tell which was which.
Really?
Because they both just were singing with good voices. And I was a little annoyed that they weren't consistent.
I think that was with a lot of voices as well. They were still pretty distinct by the end of the musical, but I could definitely tell, there were a couple of parts where I was confusing Squidward with Mr. Krabs.
Right.
And that sort of thing. Speaking of...
we haven't talked about Squidward yet.
We haven't. So we'll save him for in a little bit. Second best character, in my opinion.
I love Squidward.
In Bikini Bottom Day, I feel like some of the voices are a bit overdone. Well, I guess not so much that. Mostly Plankton. Plankton's voice.
I hated Plankton's voice in Bikini Bottom Day.
The rest of the musical, it's great.
Right, I love his voice in the rest.
His first line's laugh while you can.
Yeah, and whatever. What? There's something weird he does. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We love you, Plankton.
Yeah, because he's also a super great, fun character.
Oh, in when the going gets tough, when they're like, oh, you have something up your sleeve. And he's like, I'm a one-celled organism. I don't even have sleeves. Oh! The O's crack me up every time.
It's great.
So, yeah, I love that song.
We haven't
yet.
talked about Squidward.
Let's go to Squidward now.
So I like the song "I'm Not a Loser" makes me sad. It like legitimately hurts my heart
Tell me why.
because isn't it obvious? Like it's just such a sad song. Because
Yeah.
no one loves Squidward,
Right.
But
it's
he, like,
so... Yeah, because he's... because it's not just that he's, like, just affirming to himself that he's not a loser. He's trying his hardest to convince himself that he's
Right.
not, because he really believes that he is.
right?
Because everybody else does, too.
Yeah,
But he's not.
and
And so, even if he doesn't, at least in that song, prove it to anyone else, or even himself, at least he shows us that he's not. Because then he has the whole tap solo, and he at
Which
least
is
has
great.
his...
at least I assume it's great. I haven't seen it.
I'm
but
sure.
it
He
sounds
has
great.
like 8 legs or something.
Right.
So I don't know how it works, but and then his clarinet solo. I wonder if he actually plays the clarinet on stage. Probably not.
I would
But
guess. I would guess it's actually I don't know because it could just be he doesn't and it's just off. It's in the
off
pit,
stage,
or he could just be fake playing,
right.
or he could be actually playing,
Right.
which would be a very interesting qualification for
Yeah,
playing
live
that part. You have
clarinet
to
in the show.
right. You have to play it super. I mean, not super hard, but definitely it would take me a very long time to learn
Right.
that solo. Mostly because I don't play clarinet. Also, you have to tap dance
Right.
with 8 legs, and yeah, that'd be. I doubt there are.
So
very
yeah,
many
what I
people
think
in
it
the
probably
world who can do
isn't. He probably doesn't play the clarinet because it's probably a prop that isn't an actual clarinet that looks more cartoony.
that.
I'm assuming. I haven't
That
seen.
would also make sense.
But
My one thing I don't like about that song is I don't think the end is big enough. Like when it starts going into like the big band kind of style.
right.
I don't think it does that enough. And then
Oh
it just
yeah,
is, like, stops.
I love the ending of it, where it goes to like almost the gospel feel, like the bum 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 ba-dum.
Mhm.
But it's yeah, they should do it more because it's wonderful.
And speaking of endings, the end of the finale is, I think, way too much. When it's just the band's just going crazy.
Yeah, I was listening to it today. The first time I was like, oh, it's fine. But then I listened to it again and I was like, that's really long. And
It's
then I
like
listened to
2
it again
minutes.
today.
Plus,
And I was like, that's crazy long.
yeah.
Like, no one wants to sit through that. Like, they've already had to sit through an entire musical about SpongeBob, and then you give us that.
Right.
So,
It's like, do it for, 15 seconds.
Right.
But it's like two
It's
like 2
really
minutes
long.
long.
so I wonder if they do it like that live. Like, in
I
the
hope
show.
not.
But if you think about it, that's probably during the applause, because it's the end of the show and everyone's applauding, so they might just do it until the end of the applause,
That's true.
which might make sense.
That's
and it would
true.
be easier to bear if there are like thousands of hand claps
Or millions.
or millions.
If we're actually, how big are the
There
Broadway theaters?
definitely
Not-
aren't millions.
Not millions. I know that. But
No, it's it depends. I don't
Definitely.
know how big this one is, but it's like a couple thousand probably or
Yeah.
more. I'm actually going to find out right now for you. Keep talking about something while I.
So I have a very I do a very bad job of estimating numbers. So don't ask me to estimate how many seats an auditorium has. Like, I'll probably be off by 1 or 2 orders of magnitude.
I am going to ask you now, just so I can laugh at you. How many seats do you think are in the Palace Theater?
Well, okay, so I have a little bit of I can cheat a little bit because you just said something that it must be a couple thousand or so.
Okay, so that was just my
before-
estimate,
right,
but I guess
before
I'm
you said
better at
that,
estimating.
right,
Before I said that,
I was going to say it's got to be tens of thousands for sure.
okay, it's 1,740.
Right. So
Yeah.
So yeah, don't ask me to estimate any numbers. I can, if I see the numbers in front of me, I can do math fine, but
Yeah, he can tell you what a number is. He's
Right.
really good at number recognition.
Yes.
It's one of
exactly.
yeah, that's on his resume.
You put down any number, I can tell you exactly what that number is.
Mean Girls is one of my favorite musicals.
So I absolutely love it. Also.
Okay, I'm good. I was worried because you liked SpongeBob, and so I was like, maybe he doesn't like Mean Girls.
No,
But-
okay. You have to. How could you not like Mean Girls?
Okay,
it's like top. It instantly is in my top 5 musicals.
Okay, I'm so glad that we can just talk about this like this. I've been worrying all week like how
Really?
you were gonna like it. So I was
Yeah.
I hoped that I wasn't going to have to like convince you why it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So at first when I heard they were making a Mean Girls musical, I was very skeptical
Same.
because you heard about it like a week ago.
Well, I was still skeptical.
Okay.
You said they made a Mean Girls musical. I was like, why would they do that?
But I heard about it months ago, and because the source material, the movie, is so classic, I was worried how that would translate to the stage, and because the movie did it very well, but it could be a potentially like stupid story. Like if you do it wrong, then it's just like high school, and then it's dumb. But so I was worried how it was going to translate to the stage, but it's amazing, and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are a couple things that I didn't like.
Of course, of
about
everything.
It. Right.
Yeah, there's stuff you don't like.
There's a few things I personally would have done differently.
Mm-hmm. We'll go over that in a second.
But yeah, we'll talk about how great it is first.
So one thing that I think is interesting is that the reviews that I've read say that so Tina Fey wrote the book, and they say that the book, like the script and like the scenes are amazing and witty and just fantastic, and the lyrics kind of fall flat.
Right.
But I thought the lyrics were great.
Right.
Especially like some of the songs I thought they were spot on. And so if the book is that good, then I can't wait. It's going on tour next year, and I think it's coming to Salt Lake, so I'm definitely going to be going to see it.
Absolutely, yes.
So, yeah, if you want to like...
I mean, as long as the ticket is not like $500.
Oh, no.
If
On
it's-
tour, on Broadway right now, it's only like $130 or something.
Okay.
Once
That
it
would be
wins
fine.
all of the Tony Awards, the prices will go up.
That's
But
true.
on tour, prices are like, they start at like 30-something when they first go on sale.
In that
Most
case, I will see it.
expensive, like orchestra seats or whatever, they're like 100-something, but not bad at all.
Orchestra seats meaning you play in the orchestra.
Right, yeah. You actually get paid to do that. So,
That's the seats I want. If I get to watch a musical,
except
and get
for
paid.
when you're in the pit of a Broadway show, you can't see the stage at all. So
Oh.
you just kind of. It would still be an amazing experience and almost better.
I was in the pit orchestra for a few shows that Music Theater of Idaho did. I was in Pirates of Penzance and West Side Story and Sound of Music. Sound of Music was actually not really that fun, but the other two were super fun, and I loved it. If I could do that for the rest of my life, I absolutely would. I mean, I probably can. But
Yeah.
If I could do that and also make money,
Right. Yeah.
because it was volunteer.
Everyone, all of the actors are so talented. Every voice I loved. The only one it took me a while to get used to was Regina George.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure at first, like, why she was sounding like that, but then by the end of the show and, like, listening to it a few times, I started to, like, understand, like, what her deal was.
Yeah.
Because she is a massive deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just can't tell you how much I love this whole musical. It's I've been trying to pick a favorite song because I know that's going to be something that comes up.
Right.
I can't. If I had to pick a favorite song, it would probably be Revenge Party.
Okay, I love all of them. At first, then I was like, I like these ones. Then I kept listening to it, and I was like, I like all of these ones.
Mhm.
And then by the end, I was like, I like all of these except for one. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
We're talking about favorites now.
Right,
This
I'm
is a
curious
positive.
because I also there's a couple. It's like one song that I don't like as well.
Right. It's probably the same one. I hope it's the same one, or else
Yeah.
you hate one of
I
my
hope it's
favorite
different
songs.
ones. Then we can
Maybe then
argue.
we can yell at each other.
Yeah.
But my favorite, I'd say probably I'd Rather Be Me.
Okay.
Because that was the first one I heard. It was the first one that was released, and I connected to it so much because I'd been through a very similar experience to Janice just a few months ago,
Mhm.
and so it was really important for me. I got to it helped me a lot. Also, What's Wrong with Me, the one that Gretchen sings,
Mhm.
I love that song, and it just makes me cry, and I just want to give her a big hug. A favorite character?
Oh, if I could pick one character in any theater ever to play, it would be the guy whose name I can't remember.
Damien?
Damien.
Oh my goodness. He is
hands
now, he's
down.
my dream role.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And because normally when I have a dream role, then it's something crazy insane that I would never be able to play, like the Phantom of the Opera.
Right.
But Damien is just a high school kid, and his songs aren't out of my range, and so I could totally play Damien.
And it just sounds like it just would be the funnest role ever.
Right.
Easily.
Because that's all he's there for, is to have fun.
Right.
And make everyone happy.
My opinion of this musical is actually really similar to my opinion of SpongeBob, because it's also a musical, obviously a lot more on the serious side, but it also is silly. And it's silly enough and serious enough, and both of them are done well, that it's great.
Right. And like that almost most songs, they have both elements, but I think the one that has both the most is Stop, because they're making such a good point that like making the bad decisions ruins your life, basically. And that's like kind of a serious thing, and like lots of these things they're talking about like have had serious effects on them. Mm-hmm. But it's also goofy and fun and hilarious, and then there's a tap break, which you wouldn't expect from a high school, like a show about high school, but then it happens and it just fits perfectly.
Speaking of tap breaks, I think there's a tap break in Where Do You Belong, right?
Right.
Okay, I wish that one was longer.
Mm-hmm. It might be, in actuality, on Broadway.
True.
And once it's on Broadway, like when they're in previews and whatever, then they see how audiences react to different moments, and so they make them longer or shorter depending on what people want. And so
I didn't know they did that.
Oh yeah, they do. So when they're in previews, then they can still change things, move things around. Let's put this song after this one, see what response we get from that. And then, but once they open, they can't change anything until they close.
Interesting.
So shows that have been there forever, like Phantom of the Opera, it's the same choreography, the same costumes, not the same exact costumes, but like the same costume designs, same set design, that's been there since the 80s.
Wow.
And so I think that's really
still
cool.
on Broadway?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the longest running Broadway show in history.
Has it only had one run?
Right. It's never closed.
Well, because Les Mis has been on Broadway a few times, right?
Yeah. So it keeps closing.
But they keep reviving it.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's so great.
It's great. Just not great enough to stay around.
That's interesting. I mean,
I
guess Andrew Lloyd Webber. So of course, Phantom of the Opera is going to be the one that stays there forever.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to least favorite. Songs.
So you go first.
Okay, Whose House Is This?
I love that song.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my least favorite song.
Why?
Because Kevin G's character makes me uncomfortable, and also I don't like his voice.
Who Kevin G is?
He's the one that sings. He's the math lead captain or whatever, and then he sings Whose House Is This?
Okay.
And I don't like his voice, and then the whole song is just like about getting drunk, and I don't like it.
I mean, that's fair.
I just don't love the style of the song. I don't know. Tell me why.
When I say I love it, I don't. It's definitely not in my top 5 songs, but
it's definitely not in my top 50 from this musical.
I don't even know how many there are, so I'm not going to say what rank it is because that.
And you're bad at estimating numbers.
Like if I had to guess, I'd say there's probably a few thousand songs in this musical.
You're close.
Yeah. I liked it, and it's mostly, to me, it's just kind of like a fun song. It's not like it's one of those songs that I could listen to for a minute or so and then skip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your least favorite?
What's wrong with me?
Tell me why.
So I listened the first time I listened to it, I liked it. I also listened to this musical before I had read the synopsis, so I didn't actually know who was singing which songs. I don't remember who I thought was singing it. I think I thought Katie was singing it the first time I listened to it, and I liked it, and it definitely makes me sympathize with Gretchen, but it's just not, I don't know, like the whole show is not super intense, but like, somewhat intense. And like the music and stuff. And then this song is just like super, floaty and not really airy, but it's like super light and
Right. I love that about it.
Well, see, in most instances I would like that, but it just, I don't know. See, like objectively, I think it's good. I don't know. It just is not my favorite.
Okay. I love it a lot, and especially like the character development that you see just in this song, where she starts by like just like trying to figure out what's wrong with her, asking Regina to just tell her so that she can change to make Regina like her more, but then by the end realizing that Regina is what's wrong with her, and she needs to find a better friend but doesn't know how because
you're right. It's a very important song and it's a well done song. It just is not. It doesn't really speak to me.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
That's okay. It definitely speaks to me though, so it's okay.
Yeah. Do we want to go into things that we didn't like so much?
That was it.
Oh,
just kidding. Go on. Yeah,
okay.
We can.
So some of these are kind of nitpicky.
That's okay. That means it's a good musical. That the things you don't like are really small.
Right. Oh, okay. Before we get there, I have to say. So, okay, the other song that I love, my two favorite songs, just because of how fun they are, is "Revenge Party" and "Sexy."
I love "Sexy" so much. Karen,
so great.
Oh,
if I could pick my second role that I would want to be.
Oh, I would
Karen.
Love to be Karen.
Absolutely.
Also, she has an amazing voice. Like that is a hard song. Like all the runs, like the "Sexy,"
and just the whole part where she's talking about curing sexy cancer.
Oh.
She's like, I can cure some sexy cancer. That's not
right, is it? No.
I can get sexy cure some cancer.
No.
I can cure sex cancer.
Sex cancer doesn't exist.
I did it. It was so hard for me. That was so much fun. So funny.
And my favorite line from that song is on Halloween you can pretend to be someone else. It's like the internet, only in person and with candy.
It's great.
Ugh. She's wonderful.
I just love her whole part. Especially even in the Meet the Plastic song, her thing that she does.
Right. I love the counterpoint in Meet the Plastics. When they put them all together, I just die.
I still don't understand a word that Regina is saying in that part, but
really?
No, I've tried listening to it. I'm like, I can't understand.
I have I could
so much
after I listened
on.
to it a lot, I figured out what she was saying, and they put the lyrics on iTunes. So.
Oh well, yeah, that'll help. Okay, yeah. So nitpicky things.
Okay.
This is I don't really know how to define this, but I feel like the lyrics are inconsistent in their level of being poetic.
Okay. I feel that.
For example, in the song Apex Predator, the whole entire song is a giant metaphor, right?
Right.
Because, Regina's not actually a
yeah.
lioness, right? And then there's one line in the song, it's like, she's like a lioness, only with less fur. And that's just so, like, it's a fine thing to say, but it's just in the context of such a metaphorical and figurative language, it's just like, it just was a little bit jarring. I was like, that's just kind of like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's fine, but it's, yeah. Like a very, I don't even know the word. Coarse? Coarse is probably the correct word.
Thing.
Yeah. And then there's a few moments like that. I feel like it's mostly Janice, actually, that has those lines. In I'd Rather Be Me, when she's saying, if you treat me bad, I'll say that you're bad. It just felt kind of awkward.
Right.
So there's just a few things like that.
Mm-hmm. One thing, this, at first I didn't like it, but then I learned that it was a good thing. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The rhyme schemes are, like, really different in every song, and so, at first I was like, none of these songs rhyme at all, but then if I listened to them more, then I was like, oh, this is actually a really clever rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
And, like, the patterns and stuff were really cool.
I like the rhyme schemes as well. I mean, that specific line, lioness with less fur, and it's like stay away from her or something like that.
Right.
I don't know the exact line, but
Mhm.
it's her.
Right.
Something to just to stay away from her. And I was like, okay, I see why they did it, and there's probably not a better way they could have done it.
And like the internal rhyme with lioness and with less, and it's well done. Just some of the lines are awkward.
Still awkward.
Yeah,
but fine. I still love it.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wish that there was more of, I mean, I'm sure there is in the actual show, but in the songs, the only time we hear, because one person plays Katie's mom, Regina's mom, and Miss Norbury.
Oh.
It's one person. But the only time we hear her sing is in the What's Wrong With Me reprise.
I also didn't know that it was Regina's mom singing.
It's Gretchen and then Regina's
for the longest
mom,
time. And so I was really confused why she was singing about having kids. I'm like, who in this show has kids? They're all in high school.
Yeah. So
Right.
I wish there was more of the moms / Miss Norbury.
Yeah. I have one more comment.
Okay, I have like one or two.
Okay. My one more comment is on the ending. There's this the musical, they couldn't do anything different because it's the ending of the movie, but I just don't really like the ending that much.
I don't know if that is the ending. Because in the movie, then after the spring fling, when she gives her speech, which is I See Stars, then there's a scene where it shows like the where are they now, like Regina's doing sports and everyone has friends now and they're all getting along, and so I wonder if they show that somehow in the end of I See Stars, which I hope they do, because that's kind of the whole point.
And what I mean when I say I don't like the ending that much is that it's everything works out too well. And you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of happy endings,
right,
where everything works out. Given that ending, which obviously you're not going to change if you're making a musical, given that ending, I think I See Stars is a phenomenal way to end the show. That's a phenomenal finale number.
Right. I love that song, by the way.
Yeah, it's. I just think it's not. It's just too happy of an ending. Is my opinion.
I was just gonna say that I love Regina's voice, like especially in World Burn and Someone Gets Hurt. She's so good.
I love those songs.
Yeah, so she's nominated for Best Actress in a Musical.
Okay.
Best Leading Actress, but she is up against like everyone in the revivals.
Oh.
Which that's usually where revivals get their awards is with the acting.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Next week we'll be discussing The Band's Visit and Frozen, the other two nominated shows for Best Musical.
So make sure to listen to all of John Williams' compositions.
Right.